All right, this is fun, man. This is the first time.
All right.
I'm here with Ali Ghodsi, the CEO of Databricks. It is so great to finally get the chance to ask you some questions, man.
I'm excited, yeah.
So first off, obviously, we're at the RSA conference, and big announcement for you guys. You've gone from covering analytical workloads to operational workloads, AI, which has always been one of the things you guys have been doing, and now security. Why this move into the security space?
Yeah, honestly, our customers dragged us into this. Like, they started doing it themselves. Some of the biggest banks and some of the largest organizations on the planet were starting to build what we refer to here as open security lakehouse. They were already doing it. And, we were more kind of working with them, trying to understand why you're doing it there. And they were telling us that the existing SIMs can't store, those large organizations can't even store longitudinal data, like run out of space. And then secondly, they were complaining about the costs. It's very expensive to get all the data in there, because they charge on how much, you ingest. So they hated that. And one of them actually ripped out one of the sort of main vendors. And so that's when we started studying sort of closer to what are they doing. And then about 2 years ago, we were starting to see sort of the AI attackers get more and more sophisticated and LLMs being used. So that's when we kind of said, hey, this is the time. There's a secular shift coming. There's a new trend with AI, and our customers are already starting to store their data in these lakehouses. Why not combine the two? So why not have an open security lakehouse and then make it really, really easy to unleash the agents on this? So really, the attackers are using agents, and they're looking at any of the data, and everything is automated. So let's stop fighting the agents with manual humans that are sitting in a SOC and ingesting data and just looking at parts of the data. Let's just look at all the data and also use agents. So let's fight agents with agents.
That's fair. Now, moving away from that, I know you've been talking a lot about Genie Code, which you guys had already a great assistant before that I think had continually gotten better from the early days to where it was at today. But now that rebrand / relaunch, why that big splash? And what is different than it is before? And sorry, not to make the question more convoluted, why use Genie Code when there are great tools out there like Cloud Code and all those for coding?
Yeah, those are great. We use Cloud Code at Databricks, by the way. We're big fans. But Genie Code is really focused on how do we actually focus on data work. So if you want agents that actually are not just writing code for you, because that Cloud Code can do really well for you. But how do you make an agent that actually really understands the data? So the code is not that important. The data is the important thing. The code is a means towards that data. That's your end. So, we were running benchmarks, and we published some of these results, and we tried many of these different ones. We were only getting like about 30% accuracy on our benchmarks that we were running on some of the frontier agentic systems that were out there. So with Genie Code, we've been able to actually already climb up to 70%. Actually, I think it's close to 78%. And of course, benchmarks, mileage might vary and blah, 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 and so on. And we're going to come up with new benchmarks and we're going to climb them and so on. But we just think that it's having all the context on the data is really important. And in Databricks, since you already have all your data there are things we can do that are unique to us. And that's two things. One is you ask a question from Genie Code or from Genie for that matter, we might give you an answer right now. But we can continue in the background after we give you an answer next day, this night, next week, next 6 months to look at all the data that you have and start looking and say, the answer I gave you 2 months ago is actually, I have an even better answer now. And we can keep improving it because all the data is there. So that's different from an agent that, just has access to certain data or has to use MCP servers to get that data and it's, slow. So that way we can keep improving the results. So that's one important aspect. The second important aspect is that we have Unity Catalog. Unity Catalog really lets you audit and really control access of the agents on your sensitive data. So you really want that to be fine-grained.
More than ever now.
More than ever. Because, these agents go off and they're, useless if you don't give them access. And if you just give them access, they can do all kinds of stuff. So modulating that is really, really important. So that's where Unity Catalog comes in and part of Unity AI. So for us, those two aspects was what led us to double down on Genie Code and Genie. Why the relaunch or the splash as you refer to it? Because, it's like really improvement in, it's a stepwise improvement that's significantly different from, let's say, before. when we move to the agentic loop essentially, and really using research techniques like JEPA and others that we've published before, we can really improve the quality of the data work.
I know that you've invested a lot into AI BI.
Mm-hmm.
You got dashboards and Genie, but I want to especially focus on the dashboard side.
Yeah.
Why have you done so much investment into that area when everyone else has been saying, hey, dashboards are going to die and all that fun stuff?
I think they're wrong, actually. I think that the chatbots are going to kind of, as we see them today, going to die. And we actually see it with MCP apps and so on. I think that watch any sci-fi movie. How do you interact with the AI? Not just blob of text that you have to type and read. That's not on any movie. Future will look like Minority Report, okay? It's going to be interactive.
That's a great movie.
Yeah, exactly. And, a picture says more than 1,000 words. That saying is not going to become incorrect in a bunch of years. That saying will remain true. We still, if you go see what happens in boardrooms and in meetings, people look at charts, bar plots, they look at visualizations, and they interact with them. And so that's the best way to interact. So I actually think that BI is kind of the future, maybe, of sort of the chat interface. I think the chat interface, in many ways, is very frustrating because you're just looking at a prompt, and I don't know what to ask now. Oh, you could ask it, let me show you a cool demo. Okay, sure, but I didn't know. I'm just dumbfounded. I'm staring at the screen. I don't know what to type here. Well, there's like 3 options you can click on. Sure. But, I think having a much more richer experience where you're interacting with the visualization so that you can actually understand the data, that's the future. Now, is that exactly BI? No, it's not BI. That's why we called it AI BI. AI and BI is going to blend. And, today or in the past, BI, human did all the thinking. You look at the dashboard and you do the thinking. You say, something's going on there. That's me thinking. I want to understand more about what's going on there. So you ask, and then you go, you click on it, you do a drill down, you do a drill in, and so on. In the future, what's going to happen is that, a lot of the thinking will be done by the AI for you in AI BI. It will tell you, hey, you want to pay attention to this. By the way, if you click on it, so it's like pointing you towards that, it opens up, it shows you the report, it creates the report on the fly on what are the things you should be looking at, and it's visual. So it's not a pre-canned dashboard of the drill in or drill down, but rather it's creating it for you on the fly. That's actually, by the way, Genie can already do that for you today. It can create your dashboard on the fly, and now you can actually interact with it. So that's great. And then dashboards today also have another limitation. So I'm talking about both limitations of the chatbot and both of the AI and the BI and how they're going to blend. Another limitation we have in dashboards today is that, well, they're great, but the logic is drill downs, cross-filtering, some reporting, and that's it. That's all you can do. If you want something more custom, well, that's a much more complicated story.
Got to send back to your analyst or your developer so they can...
Yeah. But really, we're going to see now, with cost of coding going to 0, we're going to see that the dashboards are just going to be apps. So that's where Databricks Apps comes in. Dashboards are going to be apps. They can have custom logic. They can do anything you like for you, right? Of course, they're agentic. So they're going to see this blending of actually apps and dashboard visualizations and the chatbot all in one. That's where I think the future of BI and, the chatbot interface is going.
Why do you think so many people care about whether you're public or privately owned?
I don't know. It's like, maybe I don't really know, actually, to be honest. I guess it's a big news item. But we're not trying to time the market. We're trying to win the market. And whatever makes Databricks most valuable, where we can achieve these visions that we have that I just told you about, and we will be public. I just don't want to be at the whims of, oh my God, stock market is down, or this is happening, or now they want EBITDA, or they want you to do this and that. Just don't want that to get in the way. So I think there's 2 times where it's really bad to be public in the recent, I would say, half a decade. One was 2022, and the other one is, I think, now in 2026. Those are 2 times you don't want to be public. We're going to enjoy building the future while private here.
Last question. Looking back, what do you think was the biggest investment that you made that you think was a great one to make?
Yeah.
And which one do you look back and you're like, oh, either we should have done this differently?
That was difficult. I think it's hard to pick among your darlings. I think that our data warehousing push was very successful in the numbers,
agree.
you know. So, you know, it was just very rapid. A new product that just grew in revenue so fast. So that was probably really, really good. And there was a lot of debates from early days of Databricks. Should we do data warehousing or not? So that, you know, ended up being very successful. But I think another one that's maybe underestimated is the Unity catalog, because governance is so important in any organization. And now with AI and agents, it's even more important. So how do you actually govern your agents? And how do you govern your AI? So I think that was also a really big bet that kind of panned out for us. What did we do wrong? What did we not do so well? I mean, it took us a long time to build the data warehouse. We should have probably done that earlier. Now, in hindsight, we should have done that much, much earlier. I think that, you know, we did a bunch of dabbling around on-premises in the early days. That set us back and slowed us down. We didn't maybe invest as much as we could in go-to-market in the early years, which, you know, set us back. It took us a while before we really started investing big time. So those are the kind of things.
That's fair. Hey, thank you so very much for your
Of course.
time, man.
Thank you.
I want to value your time.
Yeah.
So, no, I
Do you want to take Andrew? Andrew's creator of
Yeah.
Lakewatch.